Hello and welcome to my opinion on the first look of the Maya.
Guys, unique.
So, there was just a video, I link it in the description, about the Maya that are out in a few days. The look of them I really like. I think she looks amazing. Look at how she glances at me. Also the screen and the in-game, if you watch the video, the unique units and the unique district look really cool, really thematic. I like that. Then the whole traits is of course the core of the Civ and will determine if this will be a popular one or not so much. If this will be one that I play more than once, or if it's just a one-time thing to have it played and let it be afterwards. Is it more like Korea or Australia, a powerhouse in the game, or is it more on the level of Tamar and pretty bad in everything? We will have a look at it. Thematic-wise, they did a great job. I think this fits the Maya really great. They paid a lot of attention to historic details and tried to bring it into the game. I love that. That's really great. So, the traits. Let's go through them one by one. X Mutal Ayal. Non-capital cities within 6 tiles of the capital gain plus 10% to all yields. So if you settle, if your city is, if between your expansion and your capital are 5 tiles or less, that's by the way the same distance as a Colosseum, then these cities get plus 10% to all yields. I'm not very non-capital cities, so the capital itself doesn't count. So more culture, more science, more production, really nice. Other non-capital cities, so cities that are further than these 6 tiles away from your capital, receive a penalty of 15% to all yields. So while the closest and probably strongest city get boosted, all the other cities that you may settle or conquer get actually a penalty and will be worse than the initial cities will be good. Also, 5 combat strength to units within 6 tiles of the capital. This combat strength, I would say on DT this is very useful because the AI, when they are close, likes to rush you and bring all their starting warriors to you, and there having 5 combat strength to defend the capital is really nice to have an easier time surviving. That's useful early game. Later on, completely irrelevant. The other benefit I think is interesting. I wouldn't say it's good or bad because it matters what the other traits are. Because with this you could say, well, just build less cities and let them grow big. So this 10% is much more valuable. And that's a good idea. But so far in Civ 6, unlike in Civ 5, it's much more rewarding to go wide and instead of tall. The more cities you get, the more districts you have, and every district adds more yield to your whole empire. It is much better to build a shitload of cities with a shitload of districts instead of having a few cities that are bigger, because your districts and the buildings in them do not get better when your city is big. Only Pingala, the governor, improves your city's science and culture yield based on the population. But that's only for one city. Therefore, you could argue, well, let the capital, where you will have the Pingala most of the time, grow really big, and the other cities don't matter, just build as many as you can. That's usually the get-go to have a successful game in Civ 6 that you can win with on DT. While this civilization is really not good at that so far, but maybe they have ways to get tall cities efficient. Let's have a look at the rest. Settling adjacent to fresh water and coast do not provide extra housing. That is already terrible, because they need their cities to be big, since they cannot just spread everywhere, and not having the fresh water housing is terrible. Instead, each farm provides additional +1 housing and +1 gold. That's a nice idea and I like, and farms are good to grow tall, but the bonus is a little bit small, since if you're not the Maya, a farm gives half a housing, so every 2 farms give 1 housing, and you have the fresh water ability, so they just get per farm. If you calculate, fresh water gives around, what is it, 3 housing? Instead of 2 you have 5. Yeah, I think it's 3 housing that fresh water gives. So to have 3 housing with farms more than other people with farms, you need around 6 farms. Once you have 6 farms in your city, you are equal to other people's cities with 6 farms. And I usually don't even I rarely build 3 farms in a city, because farms are just not good. Farms don't give production, farms don't give science, farms don't give gold. Okay, that's nice, their farms give some gold, but it's just 1 gold. And even for the housing, a pasture also gives half a housing, a plantation gives half a housing, so why would I build farms? Now you could say, well, with the Maya you would build farms, and that's true. I will build farms with the Maya, but I feel like, considering that they need to go tall based on this ability, and they don't have fresh water bonus, it takes them a little bit long for the farms to overcome the penalty you get for not having fresh water, especially since the fresh water housing is instantly when you settle. The moment you settle, your city has 5 housing right away. The moment you settle, 2 housing, and then you have to first get your farms up. This means you need a builder, and the builder needs to use charges that other civilizations would just use on chops. For example, to chop a jungle, which gives production and food, therefore growing the city. When you're housing capped, which is the case for the Maya very quickly, you're not wanting to chop because the growth doesn't help. So you need to use these chops for farms first, and then you can chop. This means you need much more builders. But there is no ability for builders in here. You see, so far I'm not a fan of the Maya. I like the idea behind it, but I think it's way too weak. Then +1 amenity for every luxury adjacent to the city center. This basically means if you plan your cities well, you will have never amenity problems throughout the game. That is useful. But then again, that's more a minor bonus, since amenities, I mean, in most games at the beginning I sell all my amenities since the money is much more important. And AI sometimes buy amenities for like 5 gold or 8 gold per turn. And that happens quite quickly. Then the Hulche, Mayan unique ancient era ranged unit that replaces the archer. Strong ranged attack. Okay, we don't know the exact combat strength, but I expect it to be stronger than the archer that it replaces. That alone is already good. And +5 extra combat strength when fighting a wounded opponent. That's really good, because archers are early game powerhouses, and their archer is stronger. And focus firing is what you do against the AIs, so they do not heal their units. You try to focus fire them down and they die within 1 turn. And of course you focus fire the wounded units down first. And that is a really good unit. Super good for early warfare. I would argue though, early warfare is usually not that good, because most other civs will not spawn within 6 tiles of your capital. So even if you go to war and kill someone, that the cities that you take from them will have -15% to all yields, which is a bit meh. Then the observatory, the crème de la crème of the Maya. A district unique to the Maya for scientific endeavors. It replaces the campus district and is cheaper to build. Well, all unique districts are cheaper to build. That's good, it's already good. A unique science district you want basically in every single game. That's already good, a unique science district, like Korea. Let's see if the ability is comparable to Korea, because so far they're far inferior to Korea. +2 science bonus for adjacent plantations. That's really cool. So plantations are like geothermals. I expect that the geothermal and mountain adjacency bonus is also there. I hope so. Otherwise, still, if you have lots of plantations, this can be really strong. Then, +1 bonus science for every 2 adjacent farms. So farms are basically jungles. So you want to chop down the jungle and build farms. This is nice, but I feel like this should be +1 per farm. I mean, how many farms can you build around as a lone standing observatory? 6, that's +3. And I need to build 6 farms. That's not worth it. You will rarely get more than +1 from farms, and if you're lucky you also have a plantation and it's +3. If you're very lucky you get 2 plantations and manage to get some more on it, then it's +5. I mean, there may be this super rare occasion where you get like 4 plantations and can get a +8 observatory. Super good, and if it's within your capital and gets the +10%, amazing. But that's so much depending on the map RNG. If your initial land is just mediocre, then this civilization is just bad. If your initial land is for some reason amazing and filled with plantations, if you're lucky, it's lots of bananas and lots of spices, then this civilization is actually really good, because you will get some housing from the plantation, a lot of amenities. Your science districts will be amazing. If they also get the normal adjacency bonus from the normal science district, then they also get from the jungle. So a plantation on a jungle, is actually really good, because then it's from 2 plantations on jungle would mean it's +5. 1 from the 2 jungle tiles and 4 from the 2 plantation tiles. Really good. So the observatory I think is good, but still you will rarely get more than 4. If we go back to the other civ that has a unique science district, Korea, they get +4 on every campus. And the only restriction is it has to be on a hill. So Korea has a much easier time to get a +4 observatory. Sure, they can't get a +6 or so like these people can, but they will still struggle to get it and depend a lot of the RNG of the map, while Korea gets in every city a +4 basically. You just have to plan a little bit well, and Korea gets +4 in every city. So no competition for Korea. Still good, but considering that these abilities, in my opinion, more penalize the Maya than it helps them, I would say this is a bottom tier civilization. It's not as bad as Tamar, but it's close. So in my opinion, it's one of the worst civs out of all the civs. It can be pretty good if you're lucky with the land, but if you're unlucky with the land and you don't get a plantation start, then this civilization is just garbage, just useless. And farms are just better farms. They're still not better enough. If this 1 gold would be 1 production instead, I would like it a lot more. With floodplains, farm can become pretty good, but it's not the 1 gold that I want on those floodplains, it's the production that I lack. Farms, the problem of farms is maybe to be explained here. Why do I not like farms? And therefore does this make me like this civilization less? I mean, I like it. The idea behind it, I love it. I just think it needs minor buffs. This should be in addition to the 1 gold, 1 production. Or at least 1 production should replace the gold. Then I would think, okay, this is a fine civ. And this should get +1 science for every farm, not just for 2 adjacent farms. Also, Korea gets +1 science for every mine next to its... I mean, the mine gets 1 science if it's next to its district. Therefore, theirs is just better than this. So, farms. Why are farms bad? Housing you can get with other resources that are better. A horse gives 3 food and 2 production. A farm on a wheat gives 3 food, 1 production. A farm on a rice gives 4 food. That's 1 tile worse than a horse. Same with sheep. 1 tile worse than a sheep. That's equal to a cow. Bananas on jungle are minimum 3 food, 1 production. If they're also on a hill, which farmable resources can't be, then it's 3 food, 2 production. Like a horse that is improved. Only that the banana can also be improved. So there are a lot of tiles that are just better than a farm on a resource. And now a farm that is not on a resource has either that production, not so just 3 food, or 1 food less, so just 3 food. So a basic farm on a normal grassland tile is 3 food. On a plains tile, it's 2 food and 1 production. That's just no good. A jungle on a hill has 2 food, 2 production, is already better than any farm that is not on a resource, tile-wise. And then the housing, fresh water, finding fresh water is usually not that harsh. And sometimes you can at least get it with an aqueduct. And with the granary you can improve it. And having instant fresh water is just better to have in comparison to late game housing. Of course, the Maya, if they have, once their cities grow big and you have a lot of tiles to work and could improve a shit ton of farms, once you have like 8 farms in a city, yeah, their housing will surpass that of other cities. But that's the point. You want about 2 to 3 districts really quickly. You want your science district and your commercial hub. That's what you want in all your cities as soon as possible. And the Maya are not really faster with that than others because they don't grow all that fast at the beginning. Therefore they work less production. And the reason is not the lack of food, because there are enough tiles that just give good food. Like I said, sheep, horse, bananas, that's the, or certain luxuries. That just gives good food right off the bat. Therefore it's housing what holds you back. Growing cities large is always held back by housing. And the Mayas are initially bad with housing and late game good with housing. I would much prefer reversed. Initial good with housing and late game bad with housing. Or, well, if you're initially good with housing, then you will be late game decent with housing. So, yeah, I'd say a meh civ. That could be much better with minor tweaks. With a lovely idea and flavor. I have to give them that. That I love. I will play them and I probably will enjoy them, but every now and then it will annoy me that they are not as good as they should be, in my opinion. Of course, this is my opinion. It's based mostly on playing experience on deity with civilizations that have been out. I've played every single civilization so far that is in Civilization 6. Not all I played on YouTube, but many. I hope this was informative. If you have different opinions about certain abilities, feel free to write them in the comments. I'm glad to hear other takes on this civilization. I'm curious. Maybe you just agree and put a like down, I don't know. Hope you enjoyed this. If I shall do this for the next civilization, please tell me. See you next time.